Good evening, everyone, and good morning and good afternoon to those who might be tuning in from different time zones. We are delighted to welcome all the participants in the third SDG focused webinar of the Sanam S4 High School Counseling Excellence Network series. This series is a continuation of the initiative we kick-started in 2020 that brings together high school counselors to participate in a wide variety of skill building events, certifications, and courses. The idea is to create a powerful and purposeful team of education specialists who can help steer student development and growth. In today's webinar, we will be hearing from two leading nonprofit institutions that have made a commitment towards sustainability and the exciting opportunities they have for students in their organizations. Before we deep dive into the specific of today's program, I would like to begin by sharing a little more detail on our SDG conclave. So the Sanam S4 SDG Conclave is an initiative to support India's march to achieve the SDGs by 2030. The overall objective of our conclave is to build a platform where universities, nonprofits, community leaders, and corporates can connect, share best practices, and build new partnerships. Today's webinar highlights the need to develop experiential opportunities for students to engage with the SDGs. With that context, I would like to introduce our eminent panel for today. So first, I would like to introduce Jayashri Vyasrajan, Associate Director of Research at Quest Alliance. Jayashri is a researcher by profession and educator by passion. She has over 15 years of experience in the field of education, career psychology, curriculum, and training. Jayashri's research areas include sustainable community development, philosophy of education, future of work and learning, and systems change. At Quest Alliance, she oversees the research and engagement activities to help young people navigate the school to work transition effectively. Welcome, Jayashri. Our next panelist is Ms. Jasmine Sangma, Senior Manager at Foundation for Mother and Child Health India. Jasmine is known for demonstrating dynamic roles for working in the nonprofit organizations for causes including anti-human trafficking, education, and currently health. Streamlining processes and working with limited resources are few of her strengths. Jasmina has worked across multiple cultural environments, worked in well-established organizations and startups, easily adaptable, quick to learn, always hungry to learn new things, and someone with the who takes feedback very positively. She is also known among her colleagues for getting work done and very reliable with high energy. Now, before delving into the discussion, I would like to request all the participants to keep posting their questions in the Q&A section. We will try our best to answer as many questions as possible towards the end of the discussion. Thank you everyone for joining in. And my first question would be, I would request Jayashri or Jasmina, who would like to go first. Please tell us more about your respective organizations and how your work relates to sustainability.
I can go. Hi, everyone. Very good evening to all of you. Is it okay if I share a screen to just like go over what we do at Quest Alliance? All right, thank you. This will just take a minute. That's not what I was supposed to present. Are you all able to see the screen? Yes, all right. I'm going to present it in just a minute. All right. I work with Quest Alliance, like Divya just mentioned, and thanks for that wonderful welcome. I thought just having a visual reference might be useful. So Quest Alliance believes in nurturing self-learners and creating a world where self-learners can thrive in order to bring about socio-economic, environmental progress. So in line with that, what we really believe in is how can self-learning become an approach towards helping young people to go through the school to work transition, because we are living at a time and age where there is a lot of unpredictability that is surrounding us. So what is needed, right, is an ability to exercise one's agency, in order to be able to demonstrate confidence and autonomy, because decision making cannot be learned, just after you got a first job letter, right? Like it needs to be honed over a period of time. So we believe that self-learning can be the cornerstone to kind of bring that about in our young people. Like I said, we work across the school to work continuum, right from middle schools towards the vocational ecosystem. We work not just with the learners, we are also working in a systemic fashion, which means that we work with the teachers, headmasters, DETs and SERTs and things like that, under various things, be it in terms of capacity building or curriculum development, trainings and vision building exercises for leaders to be able to take their ideas forward, right? And the reason I thought I can share just a little bit to set the context of volunteering, right? And the whole idea of sustainable development goals is because of how our society is changing, right? The traditional ideas of a classroom and an educator and how we used to learn in like one classroom with one teacher who's standing up front and telling us like, what are the ways in which we can learn something, that is changing, particularly since 2020. We've seen that like, houses have become rooms, have become classrooms. And like for this particular webinar, even we would have all been in person probably, right? If COVID hadn't struck. So everything that we know as what realities are is changing, and which has a very deep influence on how we are preparing our young people. It means that we have to equip these young people with the new age skills to be able to be successful. And that is what we focus at Quest Alliance. And some of the things that we focus on are, under 21st century skills. There are many, but these are 4 things that we focus on against these thematic areas, particularly focusing on the career and the work readiness. And we have done tons of work on integrating career awareness from middle school onwards for children to be able to like start thinking about what work means to them. So that is also something that we do. I will skip that slide. And in particular, when I said that, in our new age skills that we are going to be bringing about, some of the aspects that we also work with includes parent engagement, because they become a very important stakeholder in kind of honing young people's decisions. So what does it mean for working with parents in supporting their decisions, and how can we create nurturing environments in the learning space is also becoming an important aspect. So it is not adequate now that a teacher is able to understand the concepts or helps children understand the concept, but how can we create nurturing environments so that children are able to demonstrate autonomy and, like I said earlier, use experiences to make decisions, informed choices, and think about career. In particular, I want to talk about our work has always been in the public education field, and we have worked with public education system, which is where there is a dire need for supporting young people, which also means that, focusing on gender and ensuring that the children don't drop out because of any societal reasons and things like that. So I'll stop there. You're on mute, Divya.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Jasmine, for setting the context. I think it was really pertinent that you shared the approach which has been followed by Quest Alliance, and I think it is really, I really like the 21st century skills, which is really the need of the hour. So over to Jasmine now, if you would like to share that, how your organization is supporting.
Thank you, Divya. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jasmine. I'm Sangma, and I work with Foundation for Mother and Child Health India. Our organization works in the space of maternal health and nutrition. We are based out of Bombay, that's Mumbai, and we work basically in urban slums. Our expertise is in urban slums. The work that we do is that we work on a concept of first 1,000 days of a child, where a person is pregnant till the child is 2 years of age. And we were fighting malnutrition in India. So that's basically our cause that we are working with. So our approach is basically that we work very, very closely with the Anganwadi systems. We work very closely with the health system. And to give a view, to give a status or like a context of the nutrition in India, is that 1/3 of the world's stunted children and largest of the wasted children live in India. And it says that 50% of pregnant women and 50% of our children under age in India are anemic. And that's only due to poor nutrition. So if you see nutrition in urban context, it's basically the families that we work with, or even in urban context, people, they have very access to very non-nutritive food. There's a lot of conflicting information around nutrition or around food. If you go go to you switch on a TV, and it's not to call out any brands or names, you drink so and so, you will be taller, sharper, stronger, and a lot of information, and where the families get very confused about like what do I feed my family. And there's migration in the the cities, and there's a lot of restricted family resources. So how do we work in this areas? That what we do in the community is that our theory of change is that if families have access to like contextual, timely, and actionable information, they can make the right nutritional choices for themselves, for so that they and the mothers can be healthy, the child can be healthy, and which will result in reducing malnutrition, breaking the cycle of poverty. So how do we do that? Is that we, as I said, we work with pregnant women until the child is 2 years of age. Our approach is very community-based approach, and there's a lot of family involvement, and we do not work only with the mother or the woman in silo, right? We thought that we can have more like a holistic development of the child, or holistic. So we involve the grandmothers, the mother-in-laws, the fathers also in the community, fathers as well, so that we bring about the holistic change in the in the community. Then we also have a lot of home visits and frequent touch points that we do, which bring about behavior change in like nutrition. So our approach is basically, our systems approaches, we work very closely with the government. We work very closely with the Anganwadis in India has been since 1970s and will always be there. So what we do is that we also work in strengthening the health system, or strengthening the, we call it ICDs, integrated child development services or schemes. So we work very closely with them, and we also do about capacity building of the health system or the Anganwadi workers. We work very closely with families. We work very closely with the we also have support groups within the community that we work with, and these support groups are basically the women from the community who has been in a program for many years, enthusiastic. They want to bring about the change in their respective community, and we train these women from the community, or even adolescents, girls, or women who is 18 years and above. So we train them, and so that they could be the change agents in their respective communities. We do a lot around work around nutrition counseling in the communities. When we say nutrition counseling, it's basically not about some fancy fruit vegetables that we do, but it's basically the food that is locally available to the families that we work with, and we just teach them on how to have the right nutrition in their diet that's already available in the kitchen, but we teach them very low cost recipes, and so that's more nutrient dense food they could take that is already in their homes. So we do also in the Anganwadis, we do height and weight measurements of the child. So all that nutrition counseling that we do with the families, there is a way that we need to see whether there is an impact on the child or not. So then height measurement of the child will obviously let us know whether the work that we are doing is making an impact or not. So we do height growth monitoring in the communities. We do a lot of we have one of my favorites, we have some clubs in the community called the pregnancy club, where women from the pregnant women from the community are part of this club, and we give them a lot of information, create awareness around food, nutrition, around antenatal, postnatal care, around breastfeeding, techniques of breastfeeding counseling that we do, and we do a lot of awareness on immunization and vaccination as well. And we do a lot of we also do a lot of home visits where we identify high risk pregnant women, a severe acute malnourished child or moderate acute malnourished child, any kind of severe acute malnourished children, we immediately refer them to hospitals. And all of this work is done by our frontline workers. They are our heroes, and these frontline workers are basically from the community that we work with. We hire them as a full-time employees. They go through robust training with us, and then they go and carry out a work in the community. And with regards to help us to get where we are, we have year round all over India and abroad. We have interns. We have students from across India and abroad who come who has done virtual internships during the lockdown, who also currently on field. Currently, we have few interns who are on field, students from universities, from colleges, they're on field. They're working with our frontline workers to bring about a change that we are looking at. So yeah, so that's in a nutshell that we do.
Thank you, Jasmine, for such a wonderful overview. And I couldn't agree more with you that, Nutrition is so important for the future of our young generation. Although we call India as the youngest, country, and we talk about demographic dividend, but ultimately, unless they are healthy, you know, a lot of their potential will not be realized. So thank you for sharing the details, the exceptional work you guys are doing. I would like to go to the next question would be on, if you can share what are the initiatives you have organized for specifically for young change makers at your organization, if you can share. So maybe we can start with Jayashri.
So, like I mentioned in the introduction, right? Like, so our work, we try to do it via school system, and that's how we reach out to the young people. But we also understand that, particularly in the last 2 years, what we have been able to see is there is a need for, like I think Jasmina is also like referring to it, there is a need for a community-based intervention, right? Because there are a lot of societal perceptions that affect the way we engage with, needs for education, let's say, for example. So some of the things that we do are like, in Jharkhand area, we are working with out of school children, particularly girl children. And there is a very strong restriction in terms of children being able to access education. So they don't go to school, and there is a very strong opposition for allowing girls to go to school and things like that. But what we've been able to do is build on youth leadership. I think we very strongly believe that young people can be the change makers. So we work with quite a few organizations that are grassroots organizations, and what we put together was a curriculum on gender sensitivity, trying to understand gender as a concept, and particularly as adolescents, that is the time we are all exploring what it means, in terms of me as an individual, and developing an identity of who I am and things like that. We have tried to really like look at contextual needs, contextual understandings and perceptions, and try to build on that. So some of the things that we do are, identifying champions from specific villages and trying to bring them together to have conversations about what are their aspirations, what do they think about their dreams, are there dreams that they are thinking about, what are some of those belief systems that they are operating based on, and where do those belief systems come from, and having those kind of conversations to able to see if it is a superstitious belief or if it is something that is a factual belief. And if we are able to make that distinction, if we are able to separate what we now are going on about saying fake news, right, like make that distinction and making that informed choice based on facts and not like some assumed realities that somebody is passing on to us. And we have found that, these girl champions who are hardly 20 and less than 20 years old, and they have been champions. As a reason we call them champions is because they go and speak to a lot more of their friends, and they always work with an adult woman from the community who understands the restrictions of the community, and not like, for example, me going and talking to someone in a village, and there is such a distinct I cannot go and say anything about someone because we don't relate as individuals, because our realities are very different. So we identified adult female from the community who have undergone certain lived experiences that are very similar, right? Like, and passed on to the next generation of the girl that is growing up in that community, and how they can mentor their life experiences through these girl champions who can then become messengers to go and take our information out to the community members. So we've been able to avoid early child marriages. We've been able to create awareness about sexual and reproductive health in the communities, and people are discussing. We had a campaign in which children were able to put together the need. It's one thing to say that girl children need to stay in schools, but if there is not even a facility to use a restroom in a school, then how do you expect anyone to come to school, right? Like, so they made a petition where they listed down all the needs that they have in their locality, and created, it was like, it is not a change.org kind of a petition, but it was written down, and people got physical signatures, and they went on a bus campaign meeting political leaders and presenting that this is what my needs are as a young child, an adolescent girl in your community, and this is what we would like for you to act upon in order for us to be able to access education. So I think I'm giving this example mainly to highlight, like that is the approach that we follow in order to work with change makers from the society. It is to allow a young person to identify who they are on the first place, so self-related understanding, and then understand, get a perspective on looking at their environment. And when I say environment, not just the nature part of it, but all around, what is the context that they are living in, and can they look at themselves as change makers, not particularly because they are qualified or getting a certificate in order to do so, but because they live in a community. And what does it mean to feel that I have it within my power to bring about the change that I want to bring about? And how can I build allies to do that? Instead of waiting very confrontational, saying that, no, I'm going to leave the house and go pursue my dream. No, that's not really the approach, right? Because we are the society of collectives. So how can we respect the culture and the traditions of a context and have dialogues in which we are able to resolve some of these problems? And of course, like, I'm only saying all the good things. There are also some of the things that, has been heartbreaks and things like that. So but again, these few successes keeps us going towards like vesting the power back into our young people, and not saying that I am the savior who has lived my life, I'm an adult and I know it, but what are your lived realities and what do you want to change as your reality? So yeah.
Thank you, Jayashree, for sharing very heartwarming examples. And I agree with you that we cannot go for one size fits all. Basically, if we look at the young generation, specifically in India's case, so we cannot look at them as a homogeneous population. You rightly said that India is so diverse, whether it is economically or socially, cultures, everything is different. So the way you will deal with a young person in Jharkhand might be entirely different to how we will deal with someone in Mumbai. So I really appreciate the contextualization. Over to Jasmine now.
Yeah. Thank you, Jibe. I think I would like to, bring a little of what Jayashree shared, right? In terms of the young, our frontline workers that we are in the community, or even our core team members that we are in our organization. So our frontline workers, as many of them are like fresh out of college, who have never done the full like job. They're the first time. They're the first time, like first person in the community or in their family who is earning. And we also have like our some of my colleagues who are just fresh out of college. They've done their master's degree and then they join here as an as an team member. I think the big change that we could see, especially with our respect to with our frontline workers who are like who have been working in the community, and they are the ones who does the real work in the community, right? So going to like in if you see Mumbai, like whenever you whenever you fly to Mumbai, you would be seeing a floating community with fully blue tarpaulin areas. So that's the community, one of the communities that we work in Mumbai. And these are the communities where our frontline workers go. And these frontline workers are very young. Some of them are very young, fresh out of college. Some are like young mothers, single mothers. Some are like separated. And the change that they bring about in the community is fantastic because they are from the community. They know the community really well, and they know the challenges that the community is facing or they face on a day-to-day basis, right? This change makers, so these are frontline workers, go into this community, talk with the community members, work very very closely with the Anganwadis, work very very closely with the mothers, bringing about to break about myths, especially around nutrition, that you are following it from generations. Like say for example, you will find so many myths in the community saying that during a pregnancy you're not supposed to eat dates, you're not supposed to eat papaya, you're not supposed to eat like even fish and apple is something that your body says that it creates so much heat in your body that you're not so breaking this. And this myths or this conceptions has been like traditions or the beliefs has been passed down from like the grandmothers to grandma, generation to generation. And there's a lot of contradictory of saying that when we also have a nutrition course that the women or the girls can attend at this course, where they go through very series of sessions that we conduct with them. We train them on basics of nutrition, what is need to be on your plate, and then they go about in the community and act like agents in the community. So when we talk about it's not that these dates or this papaya are not harmful for the body. They say that if you eat banana say you get cold. And this is small myths, and breaking down the small myths and giving them the right information. So what we realized in the community that we work is that the families do not have the right information, and because they do not have the right information, they're like all over the place, and they do not know what to have. Like, it's not that it's not available in their homes, they already everything is available in their homes, but they do not know in what quantity or what is helpful for me and for my body or for my children as such. And our frontline workers, that's great, is that they go to the community, they they break down this myths. And we have also seen that from the community, one of the recent examples that I would like to give is that, so we have these women from the community who are part of our program, and they have been in a program for quite many years, and they were enthusiastic, which we call like support groups that we have. So during the pandemic, we saw that we were not able to go to the field. And during the lockdown, right, we were not able to go to the field. And we were reaching out to all our mothers through phone calls, through WhatsApp, and even neighbors calls who did not have phone. And what we did is that all this like a few women who were very, very enthusiastic, who want to be a program. So we brought all of them together into we tried to adjust the phone and video calls, and we trained this volunteers, our frontline workers trained this community women or the support groups, and we trained them on the COVID care. There were so many talks around, is it safe to breastfeed during pregnant, during COVID. So there are a few of the things, and how to do, how to isolate yourself, and what care you need to do, how you test yourself, how to take care of yourself if you're COVID positive. So what we train these young women from the community, our frontline workers trained this young community. And the change that we saw immediately in the community was this women from this community who were trained under us, they started to contact the local auto walas, they started to contact the nearest health worker, they started to see how many pregnant women are in the community, so that they are arranging auto rickshaws for them, that if they have to go to delivery in the hospitals, if they're going for the antenatal or postnatal checkups or not, are they having the iron folic tablets or not, the importance around all the iron folic tablets. So this women enthusiastically around the community, they went around in the community and were keeping a track of all the pregnant women, and trying to give them resources that is already available in the community, and helping them get there to get those resources. And this is one of the an amazing thing in the change that we could see in the community. And to work in community, to work in with families where the mother-in-laws, where the grandmothers are also involved, sometimes it gets very difficult for us to to tell them that no, this is the right way to eat, this is the right way. So in this way, even our frontline workers work very, very closely with the mother-in-laws, very, very closely with the grandmothers. There's a lot to learn from them as well. So we bring them also together in one platform, and we also educate them, and we also educate the fathers in this way, where with especially the fathers, say for example, a mother is pregnant or mother is lactating, she has a 2-year-old baby who is breastfeeding, she's going daily through domestic violence, right? And she might not be producing enough milk, where the health of the child would be affected. So in that sense, we do not work with directly with domestic violence, that's not our expertise. So what our frontline worker does is that they educate the father on what the health of the child will, how it affects the mother. So in this way, we're educating the fathers, we're educating the families, and in this way we are breaking gender stereotypes in the community. We are breaking myths around the community, myths around nutrition in the community, and we are bringing about change in the community by fighting malnutrition in India. So that's basically what our young change makers, and the people who are also working, who are core team members who are also working towards that. So yeah.
Thank you, Jasmina, for such a wonderful overview again, and the very real examples. And it was again very, appreciable that you are involving young people in the very, very important aspects, because in this day and age, specifically if you look at the COVID times, we need evidence-based scientific information, related to health, because it can be otherwise quite harmful to a lot of people. So thank you for bringing that out. Let's move to the next question. So my next question would be to, a recent report suggests that, India's rank has slipped by 2 places from last year. I think it was 117 on the 17 sustainable goals adopted as part of the 2030 agenda by more than 193 United Nations states in 2015. So what role do you see for India's non-profits to supplement government's effort in achieving SDGs? Because if I talk about India, India carries a lot of weight if we talk about overall SDG goals. in the global context as well. So it's very important that India does well in the SDG goals to make it a real difference.
I can go first. I think two things I'd like to highlight for this, right? Like one is that we are a collective. I think it is very important to think about a collectivist way of bringing about impact. The other thing I want to say is there is also a lot of regenerative practices that are rooted in traditional approaches to living. So sustainability as a concept isn't an alien concept to India. It's not just something that I think or it's my opinion. It is also very true if we do some analysis of some of the practices that we do. I think what is the role that the civil society organizations could play in this manner is that there is on one hand, we want to localize our interventions. Local communities need to feel like they are not helpless, that they are not waiting for someone to come and offer the help, right? They need to be able to find help in their own local spaces. And what is needed in order to do that is to understand some of the following things, right? Like where does poverty, how does it permeate into our lives, and how do we also educate our young people to be able to be fair human beings, right? Like the mental, socio-emotional aspects of living. It is an important part of living. I think we have in some way we have lost that track of in this pursuit of having high paying careers and having successful formula. It has become a formula, isn't it? Like you're born and then by 3 years you're like thrusted into a school environment and you go through K to 12 and then you're supposed to do a higher education and then you're supposed to get into a job and you're supposed to get married and even have a house and have car or if not cars. And then that's just become a rhetoric of what success means to us. And in that equation, the socio-emotional aspects of human beings are completely lost. And there are three things that are amiss, right? One is that we lose the connection with who we are as individuals. We don't know what our aspirations are. We don't know what our needs are. We just think that when I was growing up, I was told that computer science engineering is your way. I didn't have any time to pursue, ponder about who am I in the first place, right? Like, no, computer science engineer is what the way is, and I just go there. And then like life kind of takes you there, right? Like, so there is a certain disconnect with who we are as individuals. There is a disconnect between individuals, right? Like, between you and I, like, if you're feeling hurt right now, am I going to like, pause everything and ask you, hey, are you all right? Or am I just going to keep continuing going on with this webinar because, I'm like on a webinar on a platform? Like, where is that emotional connect with the other person? And how much of that is being considered even in our formal learning spaces, right? And the third thing is that severe disconnect with nature. What nature is teaching us as invaluable lessons, we just like, we don't even know that anymore, and it is only those grandmothers who are sitting there, and they also don't talk about it anymore because nobody values them or what they have to say, right? So these three disconnects have to be really addressed, more than any formula or like these assessment tools that we can bring or these models that we can bring to bring about sustainability. I think we need to dig deeper into like what are some of the values that we are focusing on. And can we really, at the core of our work, can we look at deep work as opposed to scaling work where we are reaching hundreds and millions of people, right? Like as civil society organizations, I feel like, at least Quest is taking an attempt at network weaving. How can we work with other people in order to bring about a certain kind of an impact, right? Like not one person can solve all the problems, not one organization can solve all the problems, but problems are multifaceted, problems are complex. So it is not about competing with each other and saying that, am I going to get that funding from this funder, or are you going to get it? It's like, what, we care about these young people. Can we just find way to work with each other? Are we able to shift our mindsets towards, as a CSO, can we shift about bringing networks, making networks, and collaborate with each other, share best practices, and finally keep our beneficiaries and our cause at the center of, our work, and not anything else. I think that is where I will leave that question.
Thank you, Jashi. I agree with you that non-profit cannot match the scale of any government, right? The kind of resources which is there at disposal, no non-profit can match. Even any corporate cannot match that, right? So I was like, for example, USAID, which is one of the largest institution rulers at point of time, I was talking to their head, and they said that their entire budget is less than 1% of India's health budget. So what non-profits essentially do is can come up with a model, can come up with a successful, solid innovation, which can then be scaled up probably in partnership. So I completely agree that partnerships are the way forward. And it's also one of the important SDG in itself. So thank you for bringing that in. Jasmine?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point that you have made there, Divya and Jaysha. I think this is something that, I would like to continue with what you said. I think partnerships, as you rightly said, the partnerships, and you cannot work always in silo, and you think that I will bring, it's not about the one organization, I will bring about that change. I think FMCH in that right way, during the pandemic, we realized that we want to do so much in the communities. We want to reach out to all over India and abroad and fight malnutrition, just not in India, not just in urban slums in Mumbai, but across India and places like that. So I think one of the things that during our, during the pandemic that we did was that we reached out to so many partner organizations in India working in the space of health, non-health, even we have partners across India, like we have in we have in Karnataka, we have in Pune, we have in Haryana, we have in Nagaland, we have in Punjab. We also had one of international partners in Nepal. So we have partnered with them to work about, to bring about the change in the community. And I think this is a great time. The pandemic, I think, has brought all, even individuals, the families, the communities, even organizations together, saying that this is not a one person's job or one organization's job, but we could achieve a lot, we could bring about a lot of change if we work together. I think that's one of the model that we have worked in the during the pandemic, and we are looking forward to so many partnerships in the days to come. We have even partners, a Karnataka partner that we have there. They work on livelihood, but they were interested in opening up a health branch program of their own. And we help their frontline workers by training them. And they are now working in rural villages, in rural areas in Karnataka. That's one thing. I think that another part was during the pandemic that we saw that the health system was the doctors and overall, right, they were so much pressed. They did not have that kind of support, and so we thought what we can do to take less burden off their shoulders. So we reach out to we work with the health systems, right? So we work with we reach out to all the wards that we are in the areas that we work with. We reach out to the medical superintendent. We work with we reach out to the medical officers, with the doctors in the health primary health centers or the health centers in the area communities. We reach out to them, asking them what is that we can do for you, what is that we could help you with. So we realized, and they have told us that there is a lot of notions around or myths around testing. The community people do not come for testing. They do not they do not have information around vaccination. So, and for our team, at least, we got 100% of our team members are vaccinated. And so they were saying that they do not have the right information around it, and there are many people hesitating to vaccinate, many people hesitating to, so can you help us mobilize that, can you help us counsel this family? So what we did as our organization is that our frontline workers, as we are already doing our counseling on phone, and now slowly we are also on 50% capacity, we are going on field because we are all fully vaccinated. So now we are also doing a lot around breaking down myths around vaccination, spreading awareness around why you need to get tested, and if you get tested, how we can support you, we can provide you resources. We are also working with, so currently in the we are also in the we have 4 or 5 organizations together. We are doing co-fundraising where we are raising money and we are distributing ration kits, hygiene kits, few medical kits to the beneficiaries in the respective communities. And we did as a like 5-6 inches together, we are co-fundraising together to do this. So these are the I think organizations can work together to bring about that, and can work towards a sustainable development goals. And this is the current work that we are doing. And I think if we continue doing this even post pandemic and like in the years to come, I think it will be a great success. So yeah.
Thank you, Jasmine, and I completely agree. I think we must all salute our frontline health workers who have done just amazing job without worrying about their life. They have put their lives online. I completely agree. Moving to the next, discussion point. I think we have partly answered that, but if we have to again, put it in a different way, that how do you engage with other stakeholders as part of your work? It can be government agencies, it could be corporates, it could be, community leaders, it could be other non-profits. So is there any approach you follow when we talk about, working with different stakeholders, or how you go about it? If you can throw more light. Uh,
Yeah, so I think I like to continue with what since I was speaking. So we do. I think in my conversation, you'd be by now know that we work with so many different stakeholders. One of our stakeholders, obviously, we work with different NGO partners across India and abroad. We also work very, very closely, as I said, Anganwadi. So what we do in our to bring about sustainability in the community. So if whenever you're working in a community, when you're starting a project, you cannot be in the community forever. Like especially at no corporate is going to fund you forever. That's a reality, right? So what we do is to bring about that sustainability in the community. So we started to train the healthcare workers, yeah, of the government system. So the Anganwadi workers that we work with, we train them because they have been there, they will always be there. So we thought if we are able to train these women, or we are able to train the Anganwadi workers, they would be they would be in the community even after we exit. So in that way, we are trying to build sustainability in the community. As I mentioned earlier, that we are also working with other women, the volunteer groups or the support groups from the community. We are training them. That's one part. We also work with our corporate partners that we have, our donors and funders, also our corporate partners. We also engage them in many of the volunteering activities throughout the year. So every year in the month of August, we have the breastfeeding week. In the month of September, we celebrate the nutrition week or the nutrition month. We celebrate the entire month actually. So we engage this corporate our corporate partners in this. We also have students from different universities across India and abroad. We have fresh students. We have bachelors, from masters, public health, from any. We have statistics background students. We have medical backgrounds, where economic background students, and even finance background students who want to find. So wherever you think they have the skills and we need, there's a need in the organization, we try to engage them in the community. And even if they want to be in the community, right now we have 3 or 4 students who are fully vaccinated, and that's why they have chosen for the on-site on-site field work or on-site internship or volunteering. They are now very, very working with the frontline workers. They are masters in public health students. So now they are also in the community working with the funders. So in this way, we are engaging different stakeholders across different areas of our work. So yeah.
Thank you, Jasmina. And Jayashree, if you would like to share a few examples wherein maybe at the advocacy level, at the government level, you are trying to, interact with those stakeholders. Say Niti Aayog is the premier think tank, which primarily is, dealing with SDGs. So any work you might have done with Niti Aayog or any other such entity?
Yeah, it's interesting you brought Niti Aayog. So one thing we do work with them. So one of the things that, like I said in the beginning, we work with the vocational skilling ecosystem because we need people who are skilled in order to be able to address the challenges that we are living with. So, and while there are these technical learning that are offered very well through our employment ecosystem, there is also a need for understanding employability skills, because all the reports, if you would peruse, which is around the state of employability in the country, they all say that there is so much of young people but only so little that are employable, right? So there is a big difference between someone who is skilled but someone who has the skills to be an employee in an organization. So what we focus on particularly because some of our government organizations, like when I say government organizations, ITI and VTIs, are not well equipped with the current state of the art tools or machinery that is involved in the actual work settings. And many corporates want to train their employees on the job training, but what they really want is the learnability of the young people, right? So what we did was, in partnership with Niti Aayog, put an employability skills curriculum, and that is downloadable from the website. And we are advocating for use of that employability skills curriculum across the skilling spaces. Particularly in ITIs, we are also moving into polytechnics, so that the students are able to think beyond, like, as a plumber, what is some of the things that I need to do, but how do I also reach out? Like, can I become an entrepreneurial, in the sense I set up a local shop in my own town and then like become this most sought after plumber? How do I think about my career in that fashion, right? Like, instead of just seeking opportunity in, like, where do I even go if I'm a plumber to find jobs, right? And how do I speak to my the HR person that is interviewing me? What are the skills that are needed? And as a plumber, can I look however I look, as long as I'm good with it? But in the increasing urbanization that is happening, how do I present myself as someone who's a skilled worker, right? So there are so many things that needs to happen. So that's just one thing I wanted to say for the Niti Aayog. But we also work very hands-on with the DETs to kind of like present, and at a state level. And we do believe in advocacy at a state level. And again, going back to the point of the diversity of the country and needs that are different, and the aspirations of the young people are different. And if we start looking at the industries that are available in different states and the sectors in which there are jobs that are available, it's quite varied. Because if you see, there is so much of textile or apparel, in the south. There are like other manufacturing units that are there in, let's say, in the eastern or western part of the country. So in order to be able to cater to those things, there is a need for understanding what the industry is, what are the demand that the industry people are sitting with. So we do research in order to understand that, but also take the findings from that to the institutions that are training them, but also to the government, the DETs, to talk about this is what we found. So how can we help you to take this integrated into the way you approach the curriculum? And for all this, a state level partnership is useful, as opposed to reaching one ITI at a time. Then it gets very hard to kind of like ensure that everyone has access. It shouldn't become something that is very exclusive to a particular audience. So we believe that the state machinery is good in terms of how it has been conceptualized. So, but then how can we leverage that machinery in order to reach all our target audience, all the young people that are out there for seeking this? So the systems change happens not at one level. Advocacy is creating awareness about what is needed. At another level, how do we build capacity in our trainers to be able to take this curriculum into the classrooms? In addition to, they shouldn't be thinking of this as like, in addition to training my actual technical curriculum, how am I supposed to do this as well? So how can I integrate that and do it together is also something that we do.
I agree. And I think NSDC has enabled a sort of an ecosystem around quality, as you were saying. That is a very pertinent question, because there is a conundrum between quality and quantity. There are so many graduates, but then how many of them are employable? So to a certain extent, NSDC is trying to solve that area. There are quality packs, whether you talk about, blue collar workforce or others. But I agree that there are a lot of work needs to be done. Let's move to the next one. So I would like to ask, do you have any suggestions for the high school counselors on the session in terms of how they can engage their students on an individual level regarding SDG awareness? Jayashri, Jasmina, who would
Would
like
you
to?
like to go, Jasmina?
Yeah, sure. No problem. Yeah, thank you. I think few suggestions that I have is that, if, like, especially students, right, they play a very, very vital role in the sustainable development goals. They are the drivers, they are the initiators, they are the one who are the contributors to the sustainability. And we could look at how we could develop their skills. Is that you can we could work on developing their, as Jayashree rightly earlier mentioned, right, how we can work on the 21st century skills of these children. Like when I worked in my previous like an organization where we worked on mentoring of this young mentoring of this young kids. I'm sorry for the background noise. Um, we could work at like developing the leadership skills. And when you are sort of when you build leadership skills will not only take you in a longer run. It's just not on the job or off the, it's always on the job and off the job, and it will take you as a person that you grow, right? So how you can be a great leader in your own respective community, in your respective family, or in your respective anywhere that you go, or in an organization that you work with. I think working on the leadership, I never had a mentor in my life. All that I did was that I grew up, and when I started, I came to Mumbai in 2017. I joined an organization. My executive director, she was my first mentor in my life, and my life changed. The person that I am today, I'm able to speak here today just because of my mentor. Like, she really, really worked on me to develop the skills, and everyone needs every individual, everyone needs a mentor to bloom into that person that you have so much potential, but to bloom into that person, there is someone who needs to back you up. There's someone who needs to push you, I think. And also to be more aware individuals, working on to be more aware. The more aware you are individuals, you will know that no one in this world is left behind, right? And then few skill set that you could the students could work on, or that is just that the creativity skills. I think the post-pandemic skills, the post-pandemic, maybe have realized that this 21st century skills, this creative skills is going to take you a long way. And as you keep working on them, you would go great. And it's not about like getting first in the class, being a topper in the class, or being, because the pandemic has showed us, right, the topper or the non-topper or the last benchers, they are nowhere. So many of us are out there are unemployed, right? So how you can work on those skills. And there are other skills that you could work on, is like project management skills. And this will go ahead in not only in your job role as well, but even as you are engaging in the classrooms, as you are engaging in your in your colleges, and working together and trying to focus, trying to complete those tasks, able to manage those projects, the smaller projects, that you come together working in a team would really, really benefit. And the last, I think, one suggestion that I'd have is networking. Networking is a great skill, which we usually do not take very lightly. When I was doing my master's in social work back then, I think I always try to reach out to people, and I did not, and introduce it when I started when I'm natively from Assam, right? I'm a very small town girl. I grew up there, and I came to Mumbai. It's a big city that I came, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, everyone around here is like so smart, so like fast, and everyone is going like everywhere, and like they're always ahead of me. And like how I can make use of these networks around me, how I can reach out to people. There are always people there to help you. So this the students could reach out to the alumni, can reach out to different go for internships into different organizations. I really did not, like way back when I was doing a bachelor's degree, I really did not know I could do internships. But and after when I gone to masters, like not even a single vacation, I have not taken a single vacation. All my vacations I did internship. Trust me, I learned so much during all my internship, like all my vacation breaks. I did internships. I connected with so many NGOs, and the amount of work and amount of skills that I acquired during my student life was tremendous. And right now also, when I'm currently in Mumbai, and I always try to reach out to so many people out there and try to build a network. And that's one of the greatest skills. Sitting at your home, you can reach out to every corner of the world, and you can reach out to everyone. And I think these are the few suggestions that I would give. I think the rest will all fall into place if once we are a very great, we develop ourselves as a good leader, and if you're a very aware individual, and this, no one would be left behind in this world. So yeah.
Thank you, Jeshri. And I think the one of the motto of the SDG goals is no one should be left behind. And I think you have put it very succinctly that reaching out, networking, building relationships are the key. Over to Jeshri. Jeshri, if you'd like to share a few thoughts.
Sure. I think I agree to all the things. I think Jasmina covered it very broadly, but the one thing that I'd like to add, the high school counselors, having them in the first place is like a godsend. Like, thank you for being high school counselors. People in high school need you. So thank you first, right?
Absolutely.
So the one thing that I think, it can get very, there is so much of expectation that we associate with a high school counselor as to what they can do. So I think I would just of all the things that we could provide as counselors, right? Like, I think the first thing that is important is to give some safe environment for that individual. That's one thing, right? How can we create a safe space for our learners? And second thing is, how can we help them to nurture or find who they are, like deepening the connection with their own selves? Are we creating opportunities in which they are able to explore that in a very, very confident manner, so that they are able to, they are very different, like nowadays, I think the complexity of the problems that we are living with, we don't want everyone doing the same thing or being good at same thing. We don't want that. We want diversity. And we can only bring diversity at the workplace if we nurture diversity at a learning environment. So if you are going to make everyone pass the same exam with the same amount of marks and getting same ranks, then we are not cultivating diversity, right? Like, so how can we create awareness? And a lot of pressure does come from a parent community, right? Like, oh, no, I want her to go into the top 10 universities. Like, we can only take so many people in the top 10 universities, like, but there are other universities, right? Like, so how can we allow an individual to become who they have the potential to become, right? Like, how can we do that? And so just wrapping that up is like, deepen the connection with the self, deepen the connection with their peers, to be empathetic and compassionate human beings, and deepen their connection with the nature. And once they kind of connect with the nature, there is no way they are going to sit and watch it getting ruined by whoever it is that is ruining, or whatever habits that are ruining it, right? As long as we can, because we cannot control, like, don't buy that, don't buy that, like, it's not going to stop anytime, right? Like, so, but deepen the connection with the nature, so they feel for the nature. So, and one thing is, like, nature is not like out there. We are nature. We are part of nature. And the moment we see us humans as part of nature, I think that disconnect itself, removing of that itself, is one first step towards bringing sustainable development. So yeah.
Thank you, Jayashri, for rightly putting it out. So we have limited time left, and I can see two questions. So first one is from Madhu Pandey. Don't you think any program of government is not successful because of poverty at greater length? Pandemic also increased. How it can be overcome? So any brief response to it?
I can take that up if that's all right. Yeah, I mean, so there are two parts to the question, right? Like, poverty is definitely something that we associate with public systems, right? And it has increased. Like, it has pushed a lot more people on poverty side, who were, like, trying to cross over and things like that. But pandemic has also made us all understand how little we need and how much more there is potential in doing that. So the government systems are also trying to think about models. For example, the NEP, let's just take NEP as an example, right? Like, and we are thinking about breaking the usual traditional notions of how education should happen. But there are also innovation that are being cultivated to reach out in many different ways, right? Like, so one example is, like, in this whole halabaloo that is happening with digital access and, like, online learning and everything, we are also leveraging IVRS, which just needs a basic feature phone, and continue to keep in touch with the people that are on the ground. So yes, poverty is definitely what is keeping us from moving along. But then, how many of our interventions is trying to break out of it, or help give pathways in which people are becoming empowered to kind of cross over? I think that also needs to be considered together. And there is quite a bit of change that is happening in these collaborations and networks that civil society organizations are creating, and there is some hope there.
Great. So there are a few more questions. Right. So one is, how is Jaya ma'am able to communicate information to those who don't have technology in this movie pandemic? Is there any means by which her organization can help us reach people and create awareness about healthcare related problems? So I think it was answered in a way that, how we can work at a local level primarily, and how we can, develop those networks. Second one is from Path. Has COVID-19 led to less work on the ground? Has it affected the kind of volunteers you get support your wonderful work? The pandemic has seen more people giving money for causes, but it has meant less people who volunteer to work on site. So will SDG goals be delayed due to the pandemic? Or, how basically what would be the impact of the pandemic? So again, probably I will take the liberty and say that obviously, pandemic has certainly pushed goals ahead for sure. How much, and if we look at the, poverty, a lot of middle class have been pushed into poverty in India. So it will take, because health, but fortunately now probably government has realized that they need to invest in, health. Earlier, probably we were investing less than 2% of GDP, but now going forward, I'm hopeful that we would be doing, with the recent announcement from finance minister of some couple of thousand crores. It will be a long term thing, because now everyone understands that how important health is for the overall functioning of the economy. So yes, I think we are at the end of our time, so we will try to answer questions which are left out. I would like to thank Jayashri, I would like to Jasmine and all the participants for their questions, for their insights, and we hope that it was a useful interaction. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.